Cool. I'm going to jump into it, Trav, if you don't mind, if you're ready. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
So first things first, Trav, do you want to maybe touch on a few points before we actually jump into the practical side of how we kind of mass generate social media content here? Um, for our kind of content generator, we kind of prefer Claude, and I would like to hear why you'd recommend Claude over something like GPT or Perplexity.
Sure. So I find that Claude, for me, was initially built as a chatbot. It wasn't built as a just a broad LLM to answer, to do a wide range of things, right? So Claude's mechanism of response is very different to that of GPT's. And I find that the way they break out the reasoning as well as your output is very, very different. So for me, Claude is great for
Mm.
that content creation. Where GPTs, for me, you should actually be using two or three right at once, depending if you're looking for more relevant content from the web, latest content. Rather use Perplexity if you're looking for content from, say, from your business data, from analytics. Claude and GPT work better than Perplexity and Llama. So just some notes there, but
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah, and I also to build on top of that, also what I do like about Claude is that it kind of it graphs the context of the content you want to generate a bit quicker and gives a somewhat less repetitive generates somewhat less repetitive content than GPT. So that's why I also kind of lean towards the Claude side. Then when it comes to the graphic side of things, because I do want to take you guys through not only generating the content, but how to kind of translate that into physical posts. We all know Canva. I have a love hate as a designer. I have a love hate with Canva. Um, but it's a free tool. It's a powerful tool. And the thing about Canva is that it integrates, or rather, Runway, image and video AI generating tool integrates with Canva, which means you can generate images and videos there, which we'll touch on in a second. So let's jump into it. Let's look at the prompts you would need to create an entire 30-day campaign. Okay. Firstly, we're going to talk about titles, generating titles for posts, then briefs, then your first draft of those posts, refining those drafts, adding your visuals, and then bulk creating it. Okay, I'm going to
Just
jump
on
in.
that, Steve, sorry,
Yeah.
2 seconds on that. I kind of know now that we're going to be sitting at 23 minutes to create 30 posts. But ultimately, the big thing here is that what we don't want to do is use every single one of these posts in concurrently, right? You want to break these up with different types of posts. So for argument's sake, if you a restaurant that has different specials on, and say every Tuesday is like a happy hour, you'd want to break up the happy hour type format posts very differently to what you would want to do your Monday, Wednesday, Thursday post, for argument's sake. So just keep that in mind while you're going through this, whoever's watching that. These aren't, they're designed in quite a specific format, but Steph, you're going to chat through that a bit better.
100%. And on that note, I'm going to jump into it. So you're going to go into Claude. You're going to open up Claude. That's your first priority here. Open up Claude. And what you're going to do first is we've created a prompt here where you are going to generate the ideas. You want your first few ideas just kind of black and white, jotted down, and you want it to be generated accordingly. You're going to say generate 30 engaging social media post titles. You want the titles first that showcase the services you're offering, your company name, and your audience. Focus the topics on the industry highlights or insights, success stories, and practical tips. Split these into A, B, and C. Now remember this step. You're going to copy this. What I did here at the bottom, I just made a make-believe company called Motion Marathon that has a ultra full and half marathon. It's in Joburg. It's in December, and it's targeting runners. So that's kind of my little fake case study I'm creating here for you guys. You're going to copy this content at the top, and you're going to pop it straight into Claude. Now, what I'm showing you here is Claude. I pre-populated it for this, just for the sake of time, but this is how it will similarly generate content for you. You can see here, generate your 30 engaging social media post titles. Again, splitting your industry insights, success stories, and practical tips up into 3 sections. A, industry insights. There you see there's your 10 headings. B, success stories, your 10 headings. C, practical tips, your 10 headings. Now, going forward, I am going to focus on one section at a time, A, B, and C first. The reason I'm doing that is if I wanted to create a bunch of posts for all 30 of these 3 sections are very different contexts, and we don't want that repetitive nature of AI to kind of blur everything together and not actually give you unique content, you know? So I'm going to do the industry insights part first, these 10 headings. Cool. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy these 10 headings from Claude, and I'm going to create a Google Doc, a Google Sheet, actually. It's free, 100%. So you're going to pop in here. These are your 10 headings under Industry A, Industry Insights, B, Success Stories, C, Practical Tips. There's your headings. Okay. It's going to make sense why I'm copying this into a Google Sheet in a minute. Your next step will be the following. Cool. You've got your headings. Now, let's create the briefs for this heading. Now, the purpose of this brief is to add context to the post that you will eventually generate. It also gives you an idea of what Claude is going to do with this information, what information is going to be displayed there. So the objective here is to generate from prompt 1, it's from your previous prompt, create a content brief that outlines the key points, include a problem statement relevant to your audience, and how your service addresses this problem, and add a call to action. So in my case, I just said here, for a title generated from prompt 1A, industry insights, because again, one section at a time, so like 10 posts at a time. 1A, industry insights, the relevant audience would be runners, and the services would be the ultra, full, and half marathon here. I'm going to copy this at the very end, and you're going to see here for each title, prompt A, industry insights. So I'm just going to focus on the first 10. And here you'll see it pops out. It generates 10 briefs per heading for me for that industry insights section. See, 3, there's a content brief, there's a problem, key point, the solution, the call to action, and statement. Okay.
But why would you break it up like that, Steph? Like we've chatted about it, but maybe for everyone listening.
Why would it break it up like this? The reason for this is, one, it gives you insight into how Claude is going to generate the post next. This gives you the ability to make changes and make recommendations after this. For example, if you see that these briefs aren't contextually exactly what you want, it's maybe speaking to the wrong kind of audience, or the call to actions isn't so lekker, you can address it at this point. So it's important to have this kind of informative step before you actually launch your posts. Okay, so by the time you launch posts or you generate a post, it's more targeted and more accurate. Okay, so that would then be your content briefs, which is fantastic. After your content briefs, your next prompt would be create your social media post, which is, now this is where the party starts. Now this is the draft. So this is kind of your first round of that post. So it says here, based on the content brief from prompt 2 for the title, if you wanted to do it title by title or brief by brief, you absolutely can, if you wanted it to be very different. But in my case, I'm going to bulk produce social media content here. So what I did practically is I said, based on the content brief from prompt 2 for the 10 titles, write a draft for a social media post. This, again, reiterating, targeting your audience, emphasizing the company, as well as elevating or kind of speaking to the benefits of the services you provide. You're going to copy this statement, and you're going to go into Claude, just scrolling past all the briefs. The briefs can be quite robust, but now you're going to put in that post here, and from that, you are now starting to generate posts, which is fantastic. This is what you want. As you can see here, AI draft social media posts for each of the 10 titles, and here you've got your post 1, there's all your content. Post 2, there's all your content. Now, as you'll notice, there is a kind of a repetitive structure here that you may not like. So although this content is very accurate, it feels a bit repetitive. So what you can do next is your next prompt, your prompt 4, would be the refinement. So refine the draft created in prompt 3 by adding compelling opening, bullet points. You can address the tone here. You can address the structure here. You can kind of customize this section to ensure that the next time it generates these posts, it fits a bit more to your expectation and the format you want it to be in. In my case, I just wanted to have bullet points and have a strong closing statement with a call to action. So again, after this, these are the original posts here, refine the draft. And you can see here, it generates a similar post, but in a different format based on the recommendations I gave it. So it's 1 post, 2 posts, there's 3 posts, 4 posts, and it goes all the way. It generates all 10 of them. There's 9, and there's your 10th post. Now, fantastic. Here you are. You've got all your posts. I then am going to take these and I'm going to pop it into my Excel sheet. This is important for it to live together at the moment. So you created your industry insights. I just created another tab just for presentation's sake, but you'll effectively just pop it in here. So now you have your heading to just kind of know what this post is about. You've got your post here. Now, you can change it. You can change it based on the recommend. You can use the one that was newly recommended, or you can use your initial post. But now you're thinking, okay, great, but I need content here. Like I need a visual, I need design as well, and I'm not a graphic designer, so I'm going to have to generate this. Okay, so this is where the next prompt comes in. So you've got your content, but now I need a graphic explanation here. Creating visual content ideas. So now you're going to take the next prompt, prompt 5, and you're going to say, generate ideas for visuals that complement the social media post in the social media post in prompt 4. And again, tailor it to a specific audience, in our case, tailor it to runners. Now, if you're going to scroll down, these are my posts. Here we go, generate ideas for visuals. I added that. And now what happens is Claude generates visual descriptions of how these posts can look. Now, you're going to copy these, and you're going to get, once again, just follow me here. You're going to pop it in here. This you're going to take, and now this is where Canva comes in, or whatever AI generative tool you have, Photoshop, but in this case, Canva, because it's free. You're going to go into Canva. You're going to open up Canva. This is your Canva dashboard. You're going to create a design. You're going to click on Instagram post here, or whatever post you want. I went ahead and I opened this kind of the blank template here of your Instagram post. You're going to go to Elements. You're going to go to Generate Your Own. And here, I'm going to go back to my Excel sheet. You're going to copy this explanation here, a stunning panoramic image of a Johannesburg skyline with runners on a trail. You're going to copy this, and you're going to add this to the this AI generative section of Canva. You're going to click generate, and it's going to generate a few options for you. I am going to use this. I'm going to click on that option, and it's going to implement it for me. And there you have an image of runners on a trail in Johannesburg. Now, you may notice, and we are very familiar with this, is that AI generated images and videos aren't there yet where it looks perfectly realistic and can pass as a photo that you have taken or stock images. So this is my recommendation. Use this lightly. Use this as a creative element, a feature maybe in your design, but don't make this the primary focus of your post, because people will notice it. Because the technology just isn't there yet for you and I to generate these things crisply. However, this gets the point across. But I would recommend then going into Canva, using elements, using different designs to maybe put it in the background. Use it as a background kind of image to kind of elaborate or kind of boost the visuals of your post. Additionally, you've got your image there, you've generated it. Additionally, maybe you want a video rather. Videos are generated even less realistically. So again, in this case, let's say I created a post. I'm going to go into elements. I'm going to go into elements. I'm going to say generate your own. And I'm going to select video at the top. I'm going to use exactly the same description here, a stunning panoramic image. I'm going to pop it in here in the description. I'm going to generate, and it's going to generate that video for me. So what's going to happen is, first things first, I'm going to quickly grab a template. Sorry, I did a bit backwards now. I'm quickly going to grab a template here. I grabbed a template specifically with an image that isn't a full, that doesn't fill the frame, that is more of a design element because it's smaller. And the smaller it is, the less kind of mistakes and faults you'll notice. So I clicked on the image, went to elements, generate your own, added the prompt, and it kind of added the video inside of the design here. So you'll see here, this is now a kind of a video post. However, as you can see, still not 100% realistic. So I would recommend use this wisely when it comes to the video use. But yeah, in this, while the explanation was now a few minutes, it really is as simple as going to Canva, creating an Instagram post, going here, grabbing your image description, going into your elements, generate your own, posting it there, and it'll generate your images for you. And you can kind of churn out posts like that. But now let's look at a way where you can start generating a lot more posts and a lot more content at once. And I think a good example of this is, I'm going to go back to the next prompt. Is remember at the very beginning, we said generate 4 types of headings for us. There was industry insights, there was, I think, runner stories, and there were tips for runners. Now, tips for runners is a very good example where the graphic element can stay the same, but the tip that you are recommending to your audience can change, can just the wording or the content inside of that graphic can change by every week. So in that case, I want to show you this. This is how you're going to do it next. Your next section is going to be bulk posts. For each title generated from, now remember last time we said prompt 1A, industry insights. This is now 1C, practical tips. Create a content brief. So we are creating a content brief. And this is it. Remember, this is exactly the same prompt as the beginning. We just changed the wording here. To include statements, to include the services, which in this case is the marathon. Your next post will then be give us just 1 second. Oh, sorry. So you generate the titles first, then you generate the actual brief, which would create the posts for you. And after the posts, I'll show you. This will be an additional prompt. Summarize each post from the previous prompt into 10 practical tips. Each tip should be a single line. I'm going to show you how I did this in Claude. So we're effectively starting this process from scratch again for that next section for the tips. However, it is now building on top of the content that was generated previously. So for each title, generate a title. So we've got your content briefs for the next titles. Remember, we already have the titles. We did it at the very beginning. So we've got the briefs of all the tips. You can see runners unsure how to feel for extended endurance events. Breaks down the key points. We've got all your briefs here. Then, based on the content brief of the past 10 titles, write a draft social media post. Again, now it's drafting social media posts for the tips, which is really important. Again, same process. I'm going to go into my Excel sheet. I'm going to go into my practical tips. Those are the headings. Next step, those are the posts I just generated. And of course, you can refine it. If you're not happy with these posts, you can go through exactly the same flow and use that refinement prompt. But in this case, I'm fine with the post as it is right now. What I actually want now is that one-liner tips that I can use on my graphics. So summarize each post from the previous prompting 10 practical tips. Each tip should be a single line. Sometimes Claude gives it to you in brackets or in inverted commas. All you have to do is add into your prompt, say, generate without brackets or without inverted commas. You're going to now copy all of these tips and you're going to pop it in here. Okay. So with these tips, here you have the tips. What you're going to do now, you're going to go File, you are going to go Download, and you're going to download this as a CSV file. This CSV file is now, excuse me, is now going to go sit in your Downloads folder. Okay. What's going to happen then is I am going to go through a very similar process. I'm going to go to my Canva dashboard. I'm going to create a post. And for the sake of speed, I just selected a template, noting that this graphic is going to stay the same for every single tip, just so that the viewer can also kind of recognize your post, and there's a brand aspect to it here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Apps. I'm going to go into Bulk, and I'm going to click on Bulk Create. Now, I need you to know that Bulk Create is a paid feature within Canva, unfortunately, but there is a free 1-month trial. And if I were you, I would utilize that 1-month trial to bulk create. You can bulk create posts for the foreseeable future if you utilize that trial period, which I am for the sake of today. So I'm going to click on bulk create. And then I'm going to say upload data. And once I click on upload data, it's just going to open my downloads. I'm going to click on that CSV file. I'm going to open it. And now it kind of shows the tables you've selected here. For example, as I see there, that if you don't know which column this is from, you just go back. You see the first tip here is invest in moisture-wicking clothing. As you go here, you see invest in moisture-wicking clothing. So you're going to click on here. What's important is you take your very first tip, just so that the data knows which one to start off with. You make sure that that is your very first tip in here. You click there. You copy pasted the first line. You say connect data. That's invest moisture wicking clothes. Let me see. I'm just going to scroll down until I see invest in moisture wicking clothing. Click there. You see you've selected it. You're going to click continue. And you can now see that it picked up the following 9 tips from that column in the CSV file. So from 1 to 9, you're going to say generate 9 designs. And now you wait. And now the magic happens. Give it a second. So what it's doing now, it's taking that same image, it's duplicating it 9 times, but on every data point, which is this text section here, it replaces it with the next tip or with the next line in the CSV file. So you'll see here, this is your first one. Plan your ultra marathon. You've got your next, prepare for altitude running, incorporate cross-training activities. And these now correlate with all of these posts here. So this is now your content for those posts, and this would be your graphic. Okay, you see that the text is different based on the tip. Okay, so as you notice, you've got your very first one here, which you'll have to save out first, and then you've got your 9. And all you have to do from there is effectively click share and download it. You can download all of them, and there you've got 10 graphics in a minute. Really simple, straightforward. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is effectively how you can create, quickly generate content, quickly generate your posts and your captions, as well as generate your graphics descriptions that can be used to prompt the AI to generate a graphic for you, or to generate different tips or snippets or bullets that can be used in those graphics. Okay, so there we have it, quick and simple, and it was under 15 minutes.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, it was really simple, really straightforward. There is one additional step, because now you need to, of course, go schedule it. And I think in this case, it's really important to kind of have a bit of an engagement strategy here. I've taken this very last prompt here, and I have popped it into Claude, and this kind of just requests the best time of day of the post for your specific audience, specific engagement tactics. So what I did was provide a strategy for scheduling for social media, and what Claude does, it just recommends when to make these posts, when to schedule it, how to engage, different strategies, just to kind of help you along there. Okay.
But the interesting thing there is, right, you know, Steph, the trouble is that you now have to try feed in all of your marketing performance data, right? So obviously we've done that in Colossio, which is fantastic. But for everybody outside of Colossio, I think, should you want to do this manually, what I would recommend is actually download all of your ad data and your post performance data just from the ads management dashboard or Google Analytics, for argument's sake, and then feed that into Claude or to GPT. GPT is also quite good with the analytics, and then ask it this specific question, right, based on your best performing data for this audience type with these interests. You know, so that can really help the advice around that be a lot more relevant compared to say just asking the question directly, which also, excuse me, it almost moves into the next slide, right, Steph? I mean, if we have to speak about the framework, right? So just keep mentioning this. What we've done at Colossio is actually given this a framework around your data without having to need to prompt it. So you can just directly ask, can you give me advice? What should I be doing with my video reels that go out every Tuesday? You can ask it these natural questions, and it'll know exactly how to base itself, right? But framework for these various AIs is that you're going to have to ask ChatGPT and specifically tell ChatGPT what type of expert you would like it to act as. Give it the background, give it your data, and then only ask it the question. And I wouldn't do it all in one prompt. First feed it the first point, behave as this profession, and then give it the background and say, okay, well, thank you. And then you always have to say thank you, right? And then give it everything around that. You know, the big thing there is that you also let it understand the primary target audience specifically, because I wouldn't use all of this content as your main piece of content. I would use it just to help you be creative, just because that's how I am. But if you need to do something quickly, what the AI is clearly very, very good at is that speed to execution. You can now get 3 times as much, or even 5 times more work done than what you would be able to do previously. So while it's still trying to figure itself out, it's going to get there. It's 200% going to get there. But it's just about, we need to learn. We have to be onboarded, as you said, Steph, on how to use this accurately. Right. And then lastly, also the clarifying question, right? For me, it's about getting the clarifying question right. Like, okay, what do you need more of so that you can answer me better? And I think if you just include that, it can also just have a much higher impact than what you would hope.
Awesome.
And just on that, I think it's the last slide, is it? The next one?
That's what we got.
Right. So,
awesome.
So super obvious. We can see we are 4 minutes over, not quite 30 minutes, but actually under, if we had to cut out the nonsense between the for joining. And yes, until next week, right?
Awesome. Thanks for joining, guys. And if you have any further suggestions, any questions, or do you want access to this PowerPoint, just pop it